The Indianapolis Colts have signed Keenan Allen. We'll tell you what that means for Josh Downs, Tyler Warren, and Alec Pierce next.
Dominate your draft and win your league. This is Locked On Fantasy Football with Fabs and Marcus. Fabs brings the expertise, Marcus brings the fire. Together, they'll lead you to the championship. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back. I am your host, Marcus Mosier. He is the Fantasy Football Hall of Famer, Michael Fabiano, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Join all of the action at FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer this MLB season. On today's show, we are discussing all of the injury news across the NFL. It's depressing. Like every time I go on to X, there's just a new injury. We'll talk about Jordyn Tyson. We'll talk about Kyle Monangai. We'll talk about Breece Hall. But we're going to start with Keenan Allen, who signed with the Indianapolis Colts late on Monday night. It's a deal that could potentially pay him as much as $8 million a season. Fabs, I know you've been kind of predicting this for a while. What are your thoughts?
I'm not as high on Alec Pierce or Josh Downs anymore. I can tell you that because this signing had everything to do with Pierce. I don't know if he's going to be ready for week one, bro. I mean, he's not doing anything. And he was initially a guy that I thought could be like a breakout candidate after that huge contract in the trade that sent Michael Pittman Jr. to Pittsburgh. Now, I don't know if I'm going to even have him available to me. And honestly, who's going to play him in week one after not practicing or doing anything, even in a best case scenario where he's back? This move also hurts Josh Downs. And I've said it before. I'll say it again. I know Keenan Allen's not the same guy. He led the Chargers in targets last year. He basically smoked Ladd McConkey's fantasy value last year. And Downs is also not a durable guy. And so now you cut up that target pie into another piece. And I don't know, the Colts like to sign old former Chargers, ask Phillip Rivers. But this is bad all the way around. There's not one good thing that comes from this signing unless you're Daniel Jones, okay? Because then you have another weapon in the passing game, even though he's, 34 years old. But Pierce's ceiling just took a hit. It already had because he's hurt. Downs' ceiling, I think, took a hit because now he's going to have to contend with Allen for targets. And I don't know that this really affects Tyler Warren at all, but it definitely affects Pierce. It definitely affects Downs. Even though he's older, even though he's way past his prime, he's still going to command some targets. And those are targets that might have otherwise gone to Pierce, to Downs. Now Allen's going to end up being one of the three top wide receivers in this offensive rotation. And who knows, bro? I mean, he may be the second or third most targeted player over the first month of the season for the Colts if they don't have Alec Pierce.
Which is fine. And that would be totally reasonable, right? But I think the idea is that this is a team that's probably going to be in two wide receiver sets more often than not. And do you think when everybody's healthy, do you think Keenan Allen will be? Because I don't. Like I don't see a role for him as like an X receiver. That's obviously going to be Alec Pierce. And I don't see him as the underneath speed guy because that's Josh Downs. I think he's going to be on the field, on third downs in obvious passing situations. It doesn't mean that he's not going to take away targets, but I don't think his role is going to be maybe as pronounced as it was in Los Angeles, just because it's a completely different style of offense. And I think you're right to say that he could be like the second most targeted player in the first month of the season, but I don't think it's going to stay that way.
No. And listen, I'm not saying that Keenan Allen's going to, be a guy you're starting in fantasy every single week. It's not. I mean, I've got him ranked outside of my top 40 wide receivers, right? I mean, so like, he's a late round wide receiver 5 dart throw. You had mentioned, what kind of personnel we're going to see from the Colts offense. Last year, they were 14th in 11 personnel. So, they did run a decent amount of plays where they had, where they had, 3 receivers on the field. So, regardless, the fact of the matter here is that Allen is not a startable asset in fantasy. Is he draftable? Sure. Late. Dart throw. But does his presence now make Josh Downs less attractive? Because we were hoping that Downs would be like an every week flex starter. I think it does.
But hold on. You think it changes Downs that much?
When you consider that Downs is not a durable guy, and then they brought in Keenan Allen. And maybe that has something to do with the fact that Alec Pierce maybe is going to miss more time than we've been told, which is possible. When all three players are out there, when all three players are active, I don't think Keenan Allen's going to the Colts and is an afterthought. I think he is going to be one of the four most targeted players on that team. And it doesn't matter who it was, who comes in. Allen, again, led the Chargers in targets last year, but you're splitting up the target share pie into another piece. And so, yes, it's going to affect Downs. And yes, it's going to affect Alec Pierce. And what happens if Daniel Jones suddenly gains this great rapport with Keenan Allen, who's, still a good receiver? He's past his prime, as I've said. It just throws cold water on everyone in this offense that's not Daniel Jones or Jonathan Taylor and Tyler Warren. I'm not worried about him either.
Here's my thing, Fabs. It's that Keenan Allen is 34, and at some point, he's just not going to command the targets that he did with the Chargers, right? Like we saw this.
I don't disagree.
Chicago. Okay. The other part, I feel like we're counting it twice a little bit with the Colts because we knew that Indianapolis was going to sign or trade for some receiver. They weren't going to go into the year with Ashton Doolin, Nick Westbrook-Akina, Anthony Gold, Deion Burks, and Laquan Treadwell as a receiver.
But see, I don't know if I agree with that. If Pierce was 100% healthy, I'm Downs wasn't a guy who's had injury issues, I think they would have.
Maybe. I think once it became obvious, or once the news came out that Alec Pierce had this lower body injury,
100%.
I think it was always very obvious that they were going to sign or trade for somebody. I guess I'm just not that afraid of Keenan Allen because if you believe in someone like, I love Tyler Warren, I think he's going to be a superstar. If you think that he's going to be a superstar, a 34-year-old washed up Keenan Allen isn't really going to change anything. And the same with Josh Downs. Like if you think this is really going to be the breakout year for Josh Downs, I just don't think Keenan Allen is really going to move the needle all that much. And maybe it will for the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. But once Alec Pierce is healthy, and if Josh Downs is playing well and in a rhythm, I just think we see Keenan Allen go more into a depth role.
I would suggest that a lot of fantasy analysts said the same thing last year about him going back to the Chargers as it pertains to Lad McConkey. But it can't always
be like this. But it can't. But Lad, I don't think it's going to be this way every single year where Keenan Allen comes in, gets 1 million targets from the slot. Because I also think
I'm not saying 1 million targets. Even if he gets 70 or 80 targets, Marcus, it still chops up the target pie and takes away opportunities from other players like Pierce and like Downs. And that, I think, that's common sense. Like there's going to be fewer opportunities and I think more for Downs than Pierce, and we don't know when Pierce is going to be back, to actually have that breakout year.
Well, hold on. Do you think this changes
13 or 14 point per game guy?
Do you think this changes things for Pierce when he's back on the field healthy? Because I don't. I don't think it affects his role. If anything, it's going to hurt. Honestly, if I had to bet on who it's going to hurt, I bet it's going to be Tyler Warren. Because you think about where Keenan Allen gets most of his targets, it's in the middle of the field, right? And it's really within 5 or 6 yards of the line of scrimmage. It would probably be Warren, but I'm just not afraid of Keenan Allen at age 34. He's just no longer the boogeyman for me.
I mean, I think you said the same thing last year with Lad McConkey. I just don't think he's going to get targets. Is it going to be a lot of targets? Maybe early in the season, if Pierce can't play, it will be. But no, I'm not suggesting that he's going to get 122 targets like he did last year. But even putting a bit of a dent into that target share pie, 75, 80 targets, that's going to affect the ceiling of the players around him.
I just don't think he's going to get that many. Maybe he gets, 35 targets in the first month of the season. But I don't think if he gets to 70 or 80 targets by the end of the year, something went terribly wrong because there's just no reason to give Keenan Allen that many targets and that many snaps, honestly. Let's talk about some of the other news that broke on Monday, including Jordyn Tyson set to miss at least the next 2 months. We'll get to that next.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Ross Jackson, host of the Locked On at Saints podcast. And today's Locked On episode is brought to you by our friends at Basque and Lather. I've been using Basque and Lather's all natural, 100% organic hair care products for my beard for a couple of years now. And it's been a lifesaver because I used to have some bad beard care habits. I'm talking over the counter shampoo and the beard type stuff that created this brittle, scratchy, and uncomfortable beard that I just had to wear around all the time. But now the game done changed. Thanks to Basque and Lather, I got their beard care starter kit, which gave me shampoo, conditioner, oil balm, and their hair growth stimulator formula as well. And now my beard is full. It's soft but strong, and the confidence is on 10, and it's all thanks to Basque and Lather. Explore viral bestsellers and products of healthier hair of all types from Basque and Lather. Go to basqueandlatherco.com and use the promo code LOCKEDON for 20% off. That's 20% off at basqueandlatherco.com, code LOCKEDON.
Welcome back to the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Mosher. He is Michael Fabiano. All right, let's talk about the most depressing news of the day, and that is Jordyn Tyson, who is set to miss at least the next 2 months with a hamstring injury. Fabs, before we even get into the fantasy implication, I just want to go through Jordyn Tyson's injury history since 2022.
And maybe I need to take a seat. It's going to take a while here.
Yeah. So he had an ACL, PCL, and MCL tear on November 5th, 2022. Came back in 2024. He had a clavicle fracture that caused him to miss 2 games. Then he had an grade 2 ankle injury. In 2025, he had a hamstring strain that cost him 3 games. And then he had a thigh hamstring strain that caused him to miss several months. And now he's got another hamstring strain on the other leg that is going to cost him at least 2 months. And it could potentially be even longer than that. Where are we at with Jordyn Tyson?
What did I say on the show yesterday before this news came out? I'm out on him in redrafts. I'm out. Injured guys stay injured. He can't even get to the regular season, and he's already out 2 months. So I'm out. I've said I'm out. It would take an enormous dip for me to take a chance on Jordyn Tyson. And I mean, listen, it's not the worst decision in the world to take a shot on him late if you have injured reserve spots where you can just stash him. Assuming that the Saints, put him potentially on the PUP list. We'll find out what they do in terms of his roster spot. But I'm out. Now, in Dynasty, I'm not out. And part of the reason why is because the 2026 class is just not good. It's not great, man. I mean, who am I going to move him behind? Omar Cooper? Denzel Boston? I'm not going to do that. Maybe I think about Casey Concepcion or Kenyon Sadiq, but I'm probably not moving Tyson in Dynasty. But in redraft, listen, he's already hurt. Like I can't remember the last time we've seen this many injuries in August, and really like significant injuries in some cases that are going to affect fantasy values. I always say that August is the worst month of the year to be a fantasy football analyst because every single day you're changing your rankings over and over and over again. And this August has been worse because all these dudes keep getting hurt. For me, maybe you move DeVaugn Vele up your rankings a little bit. Maybe he becomes a late round flyer if you're in a deeper league. Juwan Johnson is no longer, I think, a guy that I'd be afraid to draft as a tight end too, coming off of a top 10 finish last year. And Chris Olave, who I had some reservations about when they drafted Tyson and brought in Travis Etienne. I mean, I moved him up ahead of AJ Brown now, because not only did they pay him, but now, at least for the first maybe month and a half of the year, Marcus, he is going to get as many targets as he can handle in that offense.
I think it's going to be longer. If they're telling us 2
Wouldn't be
months
surprised.
right now, I think the Saints, for the most part, are a smart organization, and I think they know they probably aren't a Super Bowl contender this year. So the goal should be, how do we develop Tyler Shuck, and how do we keep Jordyn Tyson, who we just spent a top 10 pick on? How do we make sure that he's healthy for the remainder of his career and not just his rookie year?
But let me push back on that real quick.
Yeah.
Their division sucks.
It does.
They could 100% win that division. And so I don't know if they're going to say, well, we want him to stay healthy the rest of his career. If they're battling for a division title and a playoff spot, when he's ready to come back, he's coming
Yes.
back.
Just to be clear, I'm not suggesting that they're going to shut him down for his whole rookie year. What I'm saying is I don't think they're going to rush him back onto the field to play a week 6 game just because.
Oh, yeah, agreed.
You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they really slow play it. It's like, okay, here's week 8. We're going to give you 15 to 20 snaps. We're not going to overload you. And they it's almost like an NBA, like load management a little bit, just to try to keep him relatively healthy. And I just wonder from a fantasy perspective this year, if it's just so hard to jump on a moving train when we're halfway into the season, right? And I think that's going to be the issue for Jordyn Tyson. There could be targets. I just don't see it playing out. But from a dynasty perspective, really quickly, he's being valued right now as wide receiver 22. That is our latest ADP from Dynasty League Football. That's obviously going to change a ton over the next 2 weeks. But if you drafted him, in May and June and July when you're supposed to do your rookie drafts, would you be willing to sell him for 85 cents on the dollar after another injury?
I'd actually argue that now I have information that he's hurt and going to miss the first 2 months. And maybe I don't want him as much as I may have wanted him when he was drafted, because I have more information and they haven't played any games yet. But buy low, I guess, on him. If you think that, this is just another sort of hurdle that he'll be able to leap. Marcus, you mentioned a litany of injuries that this kid has had in his career. Injured guys stay injured. The problem is, like I said, this class of rookies was not great. And so I'd still rather take a chance on Tyson long term than draft Omar Cooper. And I like Denzel Boston, but I'd probably still rather have Jordyn Tyson. Like I said, if you want to move Kenyon Sadiq ahead of him, okay, knock yourself out. That's fine. Casey Concepcion, okay, I get it. I probably wouldn't do that. But this was the problem with him coming out of college. And it's continued to be a problem. So for me, in Dynasty, I'm probably not moving him, but he is dropped down into the late round wide receiver 4. I've got to stash this guy for a month and a half, maybe more. He doesn't excite me as much as he would have otherwise. And honestly, if you think about it too, the other player who came out and was right kind of on his level was Mekhi Lemon. That freaking dude is hurt too. So it's like, well, all right, I'm going to move Lemon ahead of him. Wait, Lemon's hurt too. And right now, the top 2 wide receivers in Philadelphia are Devontae Smith and Dontavian Wicks.
I know.
And Devontae Smith has been hurt. It's like, what the hell's going on out here? It's like Vince Lombardi. You remember the great quote?
Oh, yeah.
What the hell's going on out there? I mean, it's insane, man.
I think you're starting to see some very nervous, dynasty managers here. Again, for redraft, if you drafted him
because they drafted it in May.
I'm going to give you a trade. I want you to tell me.
I love the hate. I love it.
That's fine. Which side would you prefer to be on Dynasty? DJ Moore or Jordyn Tyson?
No, I'd rather have Jordyn Tyson, but in redraft, I'd rather have DJ Moore.
Okay, a couple other trades. Jalen Waddle or Jordyn Tyson?
In Dynasty?
In Dynasty.
Whoo, doggy. Still Tyson.
And Waddle's been dealing with some lower body injuries as well. I'm just curious.
Everybody.
I'm curious to see what the market does here with Jordyn Tyson. Another receiver that we should mention is Emeka Egbuka, who we thought was going to be okay. And then Todd Bowles was asked about what's his status. And he said, week to week, and he doesn't know about week 1. And now you're starting to see some of these fantasy doctors on X say,
where's my stethoscope?
I know. A grade 2 turf toe is kind of the consensus out there right now. Which when I hear turf toe, that immediately makes me think of my guy Dion.
Dion, exactly. Same thing with me. Yeah.
If you have a draft like this weekend, are you avoiding Egbuka?
Dude, I have so many drafts coming up. I've got Vegas coming up on Thursday. We've got the Sports Illustrated Invitational on Friday, which you were, believe now have the number
pick.
1 overall pick.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you could draft Dak Prescott. You'd be very happy. No. Here's the thing. I had Egbuka ranked kind of higher than a lot of people because I really think that he's the next Jackson Smith and Jigba. Did I move him down a couple of spots? Yes. He's still in the mid wide receiver 2 range. Yes. But think about the players that you would move him behind. Devontae Smith is hurt.
I know.
also. You know what I mean?
I
So
know.
like, where the hell are you going to move him? Right? I mean, like, Luther Burden's hurt. So where are you going to move him? I mean, I'm not going to move him behind T. Higgins because I think his ceiling is higher. So because this doesn't seem like a lengthy injury.
Although toe injuries always scare me.
I know, but we don't know yet. I don't listen to
we don't.
fantasy doctor,
But I did see him wearing some kind of protective boot on his foot in practice, which again, we still have about 3 weeks until the NFL season, 4 weeks until the season.
Yeah.
I'm not panicking, but I don't feel as good about Egbuka as I did 2 weeks ago.
I love Egbuka, bro. I mean, I've been on the bandwagon since he came out of school. I mean, I love him this year. So it's crazy though, dude. If Ted McMillan goes down with an injury, I'm really going to think that there's some kind of curse going on because like I love McMillan this year. I love Egbuka this year. I love Burden this year. And 2 of the 3 guys already got hurt. So it's crazy,
sad.
Man.
All right,
Seriously, it is like there's some kind of weird thing going on. There's some curse going on. I have no idea. It's like the electrical substation in Santa Clara has like all of a sudden like crossed the entire country and is just zapping everybody.
It might have been my one wish, Willow, that I wish that Ryan Flanoy would be the number 1 receiver in fantasy. And just all these guys, there you go. All the guys are just getting hurt. So that's how it's going to happen.
I can't wait to do a show where we're going to do that. The one wish Willow. Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about some running back news because we got some updates on Breece Hall and Kyle Monangai.
More injuries. Yay.
Yeah. We'll talk about those 2 players next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. You just make your free pick on who you think will hit a home run in their game. And if you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with the games every single day, whether you're following your favorite team like my Pirates or Fabs' Yankees, or keeping an eye on the matchups across the league. Every game has someone capable of going deep. Now you get the chance to make your prediction before the first pitch. So are you ready to play your game today? Join all of the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play Daily Dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of the MLB. Welcome back to the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. I want to start with Kyle Monangai in the Chicago Bears because he went down in a non-padded walkthrough where Grady Jarrett tackled him from behind, kind of forgot that it wasn't a live practice, really. There's no ligament damage, according to Adam Schefter. But according to Jeremy Fowler, he does have a hyperextended knee and is likely to miss, he said, the next few weeks. I don't know exactly what that means. But again, if you have a draft this weekend, are you avoiding Monangai?
No, I'd probably buy into the dip as an RB4, RB5. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Between him and Blake Corum, Jonathan Brooks, those are like the top like sleeper running backs for this year. And remember, last season, first 7 games, Monangai really was not a big part of the backfield. It was mostly DeAndre Swift.
Is it Monangai or Monangai? We got to get this right.
I think it's Monangai.
All right, go ahead. I'm gonna look at the pronunciation.
You look it up. And then Loveland. And when we got into the final 10 games, it was like almost 50-50, where Swift was getting about 15 touches a game and Monangai was getting almost 14 touches a game. This doesn't hurt. This doesn't help. Like if I've got to decide between Monangai and Corum, I'd rather have Blake Corum.
Monangai
that way.
It's Monangai.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. It's Monangai.
All right. Well, we'll figure it out. Monangai. It's a guy. It's Kyle. We'll call him
Kyle.
So I've just got. It doesn't seem like this is going to be something that's long term. So I'll buy into the dip and get him as an RB4 or an RB5 because I do think that he's going to be a big part of the Bears offense. But he has definitely dropped a few spots without question.
Yeah, I'm not moving him really because The odds that you were going to be starting him in week 1 anyway are fairly low. I mean, I guess you could be starting him as a flex, but we've got 3 weeks. Again, no ligament damage. They're probably going to be careful with him. Even if you don't play him in week 1 or week 2, it's not that big of a deal. Remember, those are the easiest weeks to find injury replacements, assuming the rest of the league can stay fairly healthy. I just love Monangai this year so much. I want to stay above ADP. I'm okay drafting him even despite the injury news.
Right. I think like in the case of Breece Hall, right? He got hurt too. Like that is like, all right, that's a guy I need to start in week 1. That's a guy I need to start every single week. And so that injury is, and when I saw the report on X that he had suffered a injury on a I'm like, oh no, don't be an ACL. Please don't be an ACL. You know, Breece Hall's had injury issues in the past. So it was good news that it was just a groin. I guess Aaron Glenn came out and kind of said he didn't think it was like major. So I didn't move Breece Hall. But in the case of like Jordyn Tyson, who may have been a flex starter in your week 1 lineup, or a Breece Hall, who's definitely going to be an RB2 in your week 1 lineup and all season long, those popped a little bit more in terms of like, oh boy, than Monangai. So I'm not as worried about drafting Kyle as an RB4, RB5. And right now, I think we may have dodged a bullet with Breece Hall, at least based on the early reports. But I think this also will make people remember how important handcuffs are. With all of these injuries that are going on, Braylon Allen should be on your roster if you're drafting Breece Hall.
I just worry with Breece Hall that he has been one of these players where when he's 100% healthy, I mean, he looks like one of the best running backs in the league. I thought he was incredible in week 1 of the preseason. I had a draft of the weekend and I didn't get him. I wanted him so bad after how well he looked or how good he looked. But he's one of these players when he's playing at 85 or 90%, he's just not the same because he relies so much on his athleticism and burst. And I just wonder if we're already starting with the injuries, and I think the Jets are going to load him up with touches. I just wonder what that might look like by the time we get to Halloween.
Let's just keep tabs over the next couple of weeks, and hopefully the reports are positive and there's not going to be any issues for him going into week 1. But with the trend of everyone getting hurt, you know, this August, I mean, boy, I just got to cross my fingers and hope that we're going to get the best case scenario. It seems like, again, that we dodged a bullet, but we're not 100% sure.
All right, that is it for today's show. We'd like to thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL Scouting podcast. With training camps here and moves being made across the NFL, host Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino will make you the most informed NFL fan this offseason. Find Locked On NFL Scouting on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. On tomorrow's show, we're going to do some more training camp updates, including Trevion Henderson falling behind Ramondre Stevenson. We got a report that it could be like a 60-40 split in favor of Ramondre Stevenson. We're going to talk about the Denver backfield with Jonah Coleman looking awesome for the Broncos. So make sure you guys tune in for that. Follow Fabs on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. I'm at Marcus_Mosier. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.